She just
City Council meeting for the City of Waynesville, and we're glad you're here tonight. We have a little bit of a group in our audience tonight. To start off with, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mayor Hardman.
Here.
Councilman Farnham.
here.
Councilman Davis. Councilman Wilson.
Here.
Councilman Curtis.
Here.
Councilman Brown.
Here.
Councilman Liberty.
Here.
Councilman Conley.
Here.
Councilman France.
Here.
Thank you.
Very good. And would you also, in the audience, would you join us as we have the invocation tonight given by the preacher of the Greater Faith Victory Church and also City Councilman Sean Wilson, but tonight he is representing his church. And would you remain standing as I lead the Pledge of Allegiance?
I ask that you would bow your head and pray with me, please. Heavenly Father, we always come together, first of all, and give you thanks for all things that you have continued to bless us and take care of us and protect this great community and the leaders. We ask on today, Lord, that you will bless this meeting as we come together to make decisions for our community and to honor those that contribute their time to our community and make it a great place to live. We ask that you continue to extend your graces and your mercies to us, to our school system, to our local leaders, in your most holy and precious name. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which
it's for families. So we support, we put on events, we have different programs, not only just for our veterans, our active duty members, it's not just Army, it's not just Navy, it's all branches, it's for the spouses. We come together and we do everything that we can to make a stronger community, because that's what it's about. It's about building stronger communities, and we can't do that with just focusing on the military community. We can't do that with just, we have to be able to be a bridge. We have to be able to connect our civilian community as well as our military community. And so a lot of our events do that. We get funding and support by Wounded Warrior Project, so they actually attended the Teddy Bear Picnic as well, so that was really good. We'll have some more events that we're planning on to do more things together in the community. We just have a lot of good events. I'm trying to think. What I did bring, I brought some other bears because I thought about who you were honoring tonight, and it was important to show that, yes, we can connect and anybody can become a Blue Star family member. We do have an event coming up tomorrow, and it's going to be a comedy night because we love to laugh. There's a lot of healing in comedy. I kind of laugh at myself a lot. I really laugh at my husband, though. I love him. He's hilarious, and he makes me laugh.
Did he just shave his beard off?
You know, I didn't. The only time he reshaved his beard, he did play Santa for me one year, and he dyed everything completely white when he did shave it. But he has his beard now, so he's definitely bearded again. But I did bring 2 bears because it is about, again, connecting the community members with our military members. And as a military member, I don't know the background of Laura, I don't know the background of Jax, but I know they're being honored tonight. So I wanted to also honor them with a Blue Star Family's bear, because anybody can be a Blue Star family member. So,
And you know what? Ty, they could gift that to a family that maybe is deployed. I believe Jax, though, has a new grandbaby. So that might have a home. That's nice.
We have all kinds of programs, all kinds of things for all of the family members that are just affiliated with the military or that are supporting our military. And it's important. It's important for us to get out, to connect, and it's important for us to do what we can to strengthen. So if you hear about Blue Star families, think in whole as, the community. Think in whole as the whole family.
And does it have to be deployed families?
No.
Okay.
No, it doesn't have to be deployed family. We have a lot of spouses that are volunteering with us currently right now. Their family members are here. Their service members are here. I, of course, cover the entire state of Missouri, and Scott Air Force Base, Illinois. I was actually there yesterday. So we have a career manager who helps get our spouses into the career field. So she's working with different organizations and companies to provide more work opportunities and look for those more work opportunities.
So we're all familiar with Gold Star families.
Yes.
And of course, families that have lost service members. And so Blue Star family kind of gives another choice.
Yes, absolutely. And we're
another honor.
Blue Star. So, yes.
And then when they came, council, when they came to the picnic in the park, Clarence and I were there, and we were honored to meet the Wounded Warrior directors. I believe they were from Kansas City.
Correct.
And when they left, they told, I believe they told Ty, they're going to buy 2 benches in our park.
Yes. That'll be an event that we'll put on. They want to do a cleanup. They want to bring more Wounded Warriors together. Because again, it's about connecting.
Very good.
It's about connecting and doing everything that we can. That's what I love about Blue Star families as well, because we're non-competitive. We work with the USO. We work with the Armed Services YMCA. I recently met an individual with the Mission Continues. So it's just doing what we can to connect and collaborate to make our community stronger. So
That is cool.
Absolutely.
Well, I said from the very beginning that they chose the right person
Thank you.
for this job. And you have to have a picture or things didn't happen. So we'll do this and we'll share it with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
On this card,
Wait a minute.
on this card, there's no contact information whatsoever. Is there a number or what? I mean, my wife's a school teacher. She has her own library. She's getting ready to get rid of a bunch of those books.
Okay.
And she's taught kindergarten through 4th grade. And I'm not going to house these since I have no children anymore. So I noticed you have a Blue Star Books program in that.
Yes.
So if I can get some contact information, we'll see if we can't get connected to.
Do you have a card?
Absolutely, I do have a card, but anyone who's watching on Facebook or in the audience today, you can go to bluestarfam.org or find us on Facebook. We do have a Facebook page if you just search Blue Star Families of Missouri. My personal contact, I'm your point of contact, so I'm not listing my cell number publicly as of yet. I gotta get an extra business line. Once we do that, then I'll be able to list that, but I do have cards, so I can make sure that you.
Very good. Anything else, guys?
Have the support of that.
Notice I say guys. It's me and the guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And then the other two that are here tonight, we kind of knew this was coming up, and I think we had kind of forgotten about Constitution Day. In fact, we may have not done this last year, DAR people. Did we? Come on up here, you two. Yeah, come on up here, you two. I know, Nanette, come on up here. So, you know, I'm a history teacher.
Yes,
So I could stand here and read this,
yes.
but I'm not going to. I'm going to say that tonight we are honoring the Constitution of the United States.
Yes.
And of course, being a history teacher, my son was born on Constitution Day. Yes, I planned that. Okay, I planned that. And so Constitution Day was this week. And I'd like to say that the city of Waynesville is signing this proclamation in honor of the Constitution. My goodness, 232 years ago, the Constitution was written. And the DAR, Daughters of the American Revolution, is a great organization. I would tell you a kind of personal note that they have kind of been my supporter and my buddy ever since I got into local government. I think you've given me so many awards, my wall is full of them.
Prior
So
to that,
tonight,
you were American History Teacher of the Year.
I was.
The DAR American Teacher.
I was. That was a big deal.
Big deal, yeah.
So listen, I'm giving you something for your wall,
Okay.
your DAR wall. So again, in honor of the Constitution, we say congratulations to the DAR. And would you like to say anything to the
I do,
to the
actually.
group?
Here, hold this back to you. Hold this back. Okay, you told me to be prepared, and I was prepared, so I turned my phone upside down. Hold on, it's not coming up. All right. The United States Constitution stands as a testament to the tenacity of the Americans throughout history to maintain their liberties and freedoms and to ensure those inalienable rights to every American. The tradition of celebrating Constitution Day was started by the Daughters of the American Revolution in 1955 when they petitioned Congress to set aside September 17th to the 23rd to recognize Constitution Week. It was signed into public law in August of 1956 by President Dwight D. Eisenhower. And it's a great time to learn more about the important document and celebrate the freedoms it gave us. I do have a couple little known facts, which this one I hadn't planned on doing, but until I sat there and we had the little, before the prayer.
Huh?
Do you know that they did not say the prayer at the Continental Congress because there was not enough funds to pay the preacher?
Oh my goodness.
I thought that was a pretty interesting
We got
little
ours
fact.
free.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty little
Got ours
interesting
free.
fact. Another interesting fact is, yeah, so you might want to reconsider your rate of pay.
Double.
And the United States Constitution is actually the shortest constitution of any national constitution in history.
Very
You
good.
probably knew that.
Yes, I did,
Yeah.
because they were short, sweet, and to the point, right, Ralph?
Okay, and I know, talking about the Electoral College, which is coming up here shortly, there have actually been 500 propositions by Congress to get rid of the Electoral College, but it's
Wow.
not.
I did not realize that.
500.
I knew there'd been efforts, but not
Yes,
that many.
I know, I didn't either.
And as an old teacher, I will say that our Constitution is the oldest living
It is.
document in the history of the world. The world, meaning that it still works.
It is,
We
yes.
changed it about
Even though
23
it's the
times.
short- 27.
27, 28, I haven't taught in a while, 27 amendments, but we still use it.
Yes,
So,
yes.
we
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
you guys.
And we appreciate you for having the proclamation.
Thank you,
for the city.
thank you. I'm going to set my bear down so y'all can see my face, okay? Let's see, we're moving right along to E, and guys, this is the MRPC information, and you had a reservation in your packet, and I believe that Michelle told me she has everybody return that, and I hope that all of you can come, and for you in the public, we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of the Merrimack Regional Planning Commission, and our annual dinner is going to be hosted here in Waynesville at the Stonebrook Center. It's the first time it's ever been in Waynesville, and so we're very excited about that. And I wanted to make this public announcement today, that over the last 8 years as mayor, I have nominated people and groups from our community who make everything happen. From MRPC volunteer awards to chamber recognitions, I have tried every year to highlight the importance of spotlighting the people who really make our city run. People who are community involved and proud of our city. I am so proud in this last year of being mayor to nominate 2 of the most important people in our community for their long time selfless dedication and their many contributions to our community. Terry and Jan Primus are 2 of the best examples of love of community and heartfelt volunteerism for its citizens, and they will be honored at our banquet in October for the Merrimack Regional Planning Commission. And I'm honored not only to host this banquet this year, but to recognize and thank Jan and Terry Primus for all of their work, whether it was the old Stagecoach stop, whether it was starting the LEAP program with our schools. You could just go on and on when you talk about the Primuses. And I'm very, very proud of them, and I'm proud to be able to honor them. So I hope all of you again can come. All right, well that was the fun part. Now we get down to the business part. And so we have our board and commission reports. Mr. Beamer, Mr. Lawrence, come on up and talk to us a little bit about the park board.
If you want a little bit, I take it.
Well, as little as you can, it's okay. You're doing much better, Lawrence, I'm proud of you.
I watched that last time.
I'm
By
proud
the
of
way,
you.
you were right. She
Yeah.
does do better than that. Okay, the meeting was called at 6 o'clock. We had a quorum. Amanda and Jeff was not there. Amanda's dad ended up in the hospital. I have not got an update on that, but I did send our prayers and wishes to her dad and family. Jeff was out on the East Coast with his son. But we did have a quorum, and we did get some business taken care of. We were able to pass the June, July, and August minutes. We got that all taken care of once we found out how to do it, and it's done. I like that smile that Councilman Curtis has there. Okay, and we did the 2020 budget request. We had a discussion, and we passed it, and there were questions in there. And Councilman Curtis helped us out with answers and things on that before we were able to turn it in, and we turned it in the day after the meeting. And our city superintendent has it now. I'll go to Master Gardeners. I spent Saturday approximately 4 to 5 hours with the Master Gardener, with my tractor and my loader, and helped them out with the dirt of the city, which they way appreciate. It was put there to fill their boxes up, and they're trying to get everything set up for their early spring planting. They really thank the city for getting that down there. By the way, they need some more.
Bruce, did you hear that?
I already heard about that, but anyway. They could use some more so I can finish my tractor business down there. And once that's all done, I plan on taking my tractor and bringing the hill back to its original form the next spring it should be grown back in and everything. And I'm helping out with cutting the grass and everything. So that's what it is. Okay, the WSR, the candy is back on sale. We've got over 70 of them. The price has been cut in half. It's now $30 a box and 50 cents a bar. And I meant to bring a box today that I bought that I forgot to bring. My wife kicked me out of the house before I was ready. The flag football is all being played on post. The VFW Post 3168 in Lakeway sponsored a soccer team, the Strikers. David Carpenter of the Park Board spearheaded the sponsorship, and they had their shirts as far as I know. Park Superintendent, we're going to go down to the damage, the straight wind damages as soon as they happen. I went to all of the parks. We had 2 parks that were damaged with trees down. One was Glen Haven. The responsibility of the city, as far as I know, it's taken care of. And the other one, of course, was Ruby Doo. And I went down there and I watched them work. I think I got in their way because their trucks were moving everywhere. They got it in pretty good shape in just 2 days. I think the city did a great job. We have received the picnic tables that was given up to us by the grants. We discussed places to put them. It's still being discussed. We are concentrating on putting picnic tables in the pavilion down at Tiger Park. We're trying to update Tiger Park, which is on our budget in 2020 to put new equipment in there to bring it up to the quality of the rest of the park.
Right. The problem, of course, in Tiger Park is that it floods.
We understand that.
So I wonder, will the new composite picnic tables, will you be able to bolt them down maybe?
We'll check on that, Mayor.
Might have to move them when we know the flood's coming.
That's out of my pay grade.
No, you're supposed to act like it is.
Oh, it's my pay grade, okay. All 9 soccer fields are being utilized and they've been striped and taken care of. The other thing is I went down and got with Mr. Brown and he showed me the new cameras that are down there at the Ruby Doo Park.
Super.
And he showed me how it worked and everything, and I think it's great. The cameras are in operation. They will be down there at the shed down there. They'll be at the police department, and they will be, I understand, here at the municipal center, also where they can keep an eye on the park. And our upcoming events, we've already had one passed, the fishing one, which a whole lot of people showed up, and I didn't make it.
It was wonderful. Yeah,
And I understand it's wonderful. I've seen the pictures.
Jackie took some really good pictures of it.
And she did a great job with that, I have to admit. Our next one is September 18th, Stars and Pearls Social Club's Breast Cancer Walk and Run. It'll be from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock on September 28th. September 28th, Waynesville United Methodist Church community-wide block party will be from 11 o'clock to 3 p.m. And I am going to mention an October event. It'll be on the 4th. Councilman Wilson is heading that up for the Pumpkin Fest on the 31st. And there will be a meeting there if anybody wants to come down and find out what's going on. So if there's any questions for Mr. Wilson, get a hold of him. We adjourned at 6:45, and I did not read our minutes. They were extra long, and I want to thank Joseph Mott for taking those notes, and he's a great addition to our board.
Very good, very good. Well, tell him the teacher says to be sure it's spelled Gardner right.
Actually, my wife did that.
Tell Karen, it's Gardner,
Yeah.
because I bet they won't like that.
Yeah, I did some other corrections, but that's.
And Lawrence, can I, before you sit down, can I say to several of you city councilmen who took the time to come to the 399th Army Band concert, I know Mr. Harrell was there, what a wonderful night, and we ended up with quite a crowd. It was a very hot night, and I think that maybe kept some people away, but always enjoyed the Army Band and appreciate everything they've done every year.
And I like what they do.
Very good. Any questions for Lawrence? All right. And, you know, I always forget, Michelle, would you remind me from now on, I always forget to say, is there anybody in the audience who would like to address the council? And I don't believe there's anyone, but I need to say that every time, Michelle, and I forget. Let's see, planning and zoning. And Cecil, were you there?
I was not there. I was going to see if Bruce.
Yes, let's let Bruce
Kind of
talk
sum
about
it
it
up.
then.
Okay, Mayor, we had the meeting on September 10th. Chairwoman Kreider, the main business was to have a public hearing about a proposed ordinance addressing Airbnbs and bed and breakfasts located in, of course, in our city limits. And we opened up the floor to different discussions. We went over our ordinance, which Michelle had done some research and used a model out of Jefferson City, but we looked at several different cities. Basically, we had allowed short-term rentals in multifamily zoning districts and commercial districts, C1 small commercial, and for R1 and R2 they'd have to have a conditional use permit. So we got a couple of comments. Aaron Burton commented. I think he was in agreement. He understood the ordinance, and I think he agreed that if his area was residential zone, he'd have to apply for a conditional use permit. Mr. Clark also made some comments. He commented if it would allow container homes in the same, could be rented as short-term rental. My understanding is as long as they fulfill both obligations, they could be in, there would not be any conflict there. So there's a lot of discussion about the proposed ordinance, and they eventually tabled the ordinance. There are some people that wanted to open it to every zoning district without a conditional use permit, and there are some people that did not. So there was not a consensus among the commission regarding that, and so Chairwoman Kreider, she tabled it for the next meeting, and we'll come up with some different ideas to address some of the issues that were raised by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Yeah? Do you have any questions?
I wasn't there, Mr. Harold,
Yes.
because I was in St. Louis.
Sure.
And I don't believe I got a copy, and I'm sure it's my fault, but I didn't get a copy of the ordinance.
Okay.
So I want to ask you a question. In the ordinance, are there rules concerning running these things? Because to me, the question would be, in my neighborhood, my question is there parking for all the people?
They would have to, there are some rules that they'd have to have enough parking. There's rules of different events that they could not hold. There's rules of,
Okay.
the whole ordinance is basically rules regarding
Very good.
regarding and restrictions. And of course, there was a discussion, are there too many rules or are there too few rules? Was some of the discussion. Some people, like I said, wanted to have it in without a conditional use permit, and some people wanted to have it with more. So there are some rules. And
Maybe, you know, and of course Cecil and I go to those meetings, and so we get copy of the ordinance, whereas maybe the rest of the council would not get that. So if we don't do anything with that next month at Planning and Zoning, let's make sure the council gets maybe a copy of it so they can start looking at it.
We have taken it to Roads and Grounds.
Oh, okay.
As, you know, it kind of falls under their area.
Okay.
So I think we've taken it there. I'm not sure if we took it to Economic Development. We did. Well, I think we have. So at least 2 committees have seen the entire ordinance.
Very good.
And we can share that with the rest of the city councilmen.
You know, just me, but, and I don't know about you guys, but at my house, I don't mind people renting their homes. I use Airbnb. In fact, I just signed up for one. You know, I use it, I understand it, but I also don't want somebody renting a house next to me for a party of 25 and a wedding thing that's going to go into 2 o'clock in the night, you know? So those are the things that would bother me as a R1 person, so. So that answered my question, thank you. Anything else, council, Mr. Harrell? And of course, we'll keep you apprised of what happens there. Okay, standing committee reports, Councilman France, Roads and Grounds, you were busy.
Yes, we were. I called the meeting to order on September 5th at 4:30. I want to congratulate our road crew. They were out picking up branches, chainsawing some of them that were just too big for the homeowners to cut up to where they could get them in the trucks. They were all over, working hard. And I guess some people had an expectation that we would go into their deep yard and pull branches out. If they didn't get them out to the street, then we didn't do it. So, but bottom line, the ones who were out the street, they did a great job on it. We did end up purchasing the property at the tax sale where the old carpet used to be stashed.
Yay.
And it is going to be cleaned up. Proposal for a
Already
nonprofit
is.
discount for use of park facilities for nonprofits only was talked about, and final decision has not been made yet on any changes. Drainage issues, Mr. Harrell stated that due to a large workload that the electric, water departments have at this time, some of these issues have been put on hold. There's been a discussion of potential cost shares in a couple areas in order to fix some of these drainage issues with Briar Point, Viren Apartments, Birch Lane, and we have fixed one in the Mitchell Creek area, but we're still working at those, and basically we've made our decision. It now goes to the property owners to say if they're going to participate. Abatement, Mr. Harold, we talked about abatement in closed session. Street Department updates, Brian Adams stated the Street Department has completed GW Lane, fixed the Mitchell Creek wall, regraded and re-graveled a few streets, mowed many areas throughout the city, filled in several potholes, added signs to Booker Street and Dodd, picked up 6 dead animals and completed 22 work orders. Street evaluation, if you remember several years ago, we got a great big book on every street in the community and what kind of condition and where it should be at. And they're working on that, but that is a work in progress currently. Sidewalk project for GW Lane. Well, if you remember, we've had 2 storms where we lost poles, transformers, trees and stuff. And we're working on GW Lane and some of the other projects. This has taken a back seat, but as we complete some of these work that has a higher priority, then we will get on to that. There was a need for closed session, which we went into at 4:52. We came out at 5:09 p.m. And subject to your questions.
Busy. And guys, we are going to get those sidewalks started at the high school. And again, we're just so busy with all these other projects. But as soon as we can get out there, because the fall, I think, is a good time to do that work. So that's kind of what we're shooting for. Any questions? Okay, Mike, keep talking about utilities.
Okay, I called that meeting to order on September 3rd, and Dr. Brown was sitting in for Sean, who had to be absent. I would say the trash contract is up after the first part of the year, and quite honestly, the city is exploring about assuming that responsibility from the Ziegenbeis. Sewer rates, you all need to know that we have made a rate increase. Your availability fee will go up $1 from its current amount, and your per 1,000 gallons is going up on metered areas from $3.05 per 1,000 gallons to $3.25 per 1,000 gallons. So 20 cents, $1.20 per 1,000 gallons is, or a dollar for your availability fee and 20 cents per 1,000. So it's about 6%. And in that, we're also raising the sewer districts to 5%, which is the maximum we can do by our current agreement.
Can we stop and
And that
talk about
starts in January 1st.
Can we stop and talk about that, because we're going to obviously address an ordinance here in just a moment. And one of the things that I really want you and Mr. Harold to make sure and say to the public is that we have not had an increase in our wastewater since 2011. That's 8 years. And I will just tell you, the cost of doing business has increased much more than 6%. And
has
we're
the-
trying, you know, we're working hard to give you a good product, take care of things, you know, give you services that are good, and every once in a while we have to ask for those. And to me, that's not unreasonable. And I think you explaining it that way, Mike, really helped. You know, $1 increase on availability, and then 20 cents per 1,000 gallons of water. To me, that's cheap water.
Yep. The availability, if you don't understand what that's about, is we have to maintain the pipes 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year to get you water, whether you're using it or not. We have to maintain it. So that's the bulk of it, is that's why you have an availability fee. Because we got the pipes, they have done nothing but go up. And we've been replacing clay pipes and stuff like that, a lot of them, because with the dryness, and then it gets wet, ground moves, we get all these breaks and stuff like that. But that's what availability fee is about. Just in August, we had 2 wells that we had to take out, and all of a sudden, you know, we had a lightning strike on one. The other one we had to raise out of the floodplain finally. And so when that one got hit, we had $66,000 of unexpected expenses that hit us. I mean, that were not forecasted, weren't scheduled to be done for quite some time. And as the mayor said, the chemicals, the equipment to maintain our sewage treatment plant, which 11 years ago is when we finished a $4.6 million upgrade. If you remember, we voted for the bond issue to where we meet and we exceed current state standards across the board. I mean, and we continue to do that on a daily basis. So
I'll just tell you something really frightening to me as a mayor is when I read in the newspaper, Thayer, Missouri was out of water. That happened this week. Their water well failed and completely failed, they had no water. So I haven't checked on to see what they're doing. And then was it Licking, just recently, Licking also had trouble with their water. So I'm proud of what we do here and how well we, you know, take care of our water and our wastewater, and we definitely want to keep it up. So go ahead, Mike.
Okay. Northern Heights, your tank, 270,000 gallon tank we've got it all set up to where we're ready for the tank to come in, which should be later next week or something like that, just very soon. And we'll get that put on site, put in DNR inspection. We had an inspection on the 11th, and according to, it's our 3-year water inspection scheduled by DNR. And Mr. Harold, when I talked to him, he said he thought we did extremely well. But anytime we get these inspections down from the state, they leave us saying really nice things, and then we get a written report that tells us like, hey, you still need this pipe here, or you need this, stuff like that. So we're waiting for the actual reports to tell us exactly what's going on. Water loss, I can tell you that when I first took over the chairmanship of utilities years back, basically we were losing somewhere in excess of 50%.
Wow.
And now we're down into the 20s percentile. And if you know what we've been through to get to where we're at now, it's unbelievable. But our water department, Mr. Eldridge, and those guys, and our whole city work crew have worked diligently to get that, and they're working to get it even better. Electrical projects, electric outage storm on the 26th, Mr. Sheldon stated, the storm on the 26th caused several outages to occur. The city repaired a pole and line that had been taken out by downed trees, reconductoring feeder lines, which basically were putting new wire up. We've got wire up around the city that's really, really old and is not as efficient. And so we've also changed some of the things that's going on and how it's wired. So we've been doing that, and we've laid out over 2,000 foot, along with 9 poles replaced. Feeder line C to D, tentatively scheduled to begin sometime this month. Ms. Sheldon stated feeder line C to D tie is still on the work schedule for September. And what we're doing in that is that increases reliability. If feeder line C has a problem, we'll be able to backfeed to a point from feeder line D. And we're doing that completely around the entire city, tying in lines so that when we do have a loss of power in an area, it used to be the whole area was out. Now we can reduce that down to a few homes within that area. So that's what we're working on, and we've been doing it for a couple of years now. Pole replacement, last year we had half our poles done with sonograms to see how they were wearing, and this season underground. And we found out we had 14 poles that when we pulled them out, you could see they were rotted. They was barely standing on their own. And we've completed replacing 10 of those, and we've replaced even more because of these storms. But we're getting to them, we're going to get them done. Electric outage report was shown, presented to the committee with the August e-reliability report showing 11 outages for the month. And those are outages caused by squirrels, the storms, all that. Wastewater infrastructure financing workshop, we sent Councilman Wilson to that, as well as Mr. Eldridge and Miriam Jones, the administrative assistant to the city administrator up in Columbia. Gas department, Mr. McDonald stated the gas department has been assisting our construction department install a new service and continue working at the middle school. Mr. Sheldon stated that his department worked on the access road on JC Avenue, which last year we had several problems on. We had holes torn down and there was no access to it. We had to build a road to get our trucks down there and be able to service it. So we're taking good care of that road so that if we have those problems down there again, it won't be out for a day or more. We can get down there and service them quickly. Water sewer, Mr. Eldridge stated that his department did line flushing, repaired some main breaks, worked on the plumbing in Northern Heights to get that in preparation for the new water tank, and got well number 2 back online. That's the one down in the Ruby-Doo. We built a whole new well house with our own construction crew in-house. We raised that well about 8 feet, so it's now out of the floodplain and it's back in service. And that well provides almost all of East Waynesville. Back online, complete installation of a new valve and water connection for the Justice Center that's going in. And the Water Sewer Department has also hired 2 new employees and completed our annual quality assurance test. There was a necessity to go into closed session, which we did at 4:14, and we came out at 5:12. When we came out, that's when we voted in regard to us moving the ordinance forward to the City Council for the increase in sewer rates.
Very good. Questions for Mike?
I've got a comment.
Jerry?
Put in perspective that $22.25 is going to cost you 2.2 cents per gallon. This costs more than that.
Good.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Mr.
Well, and Bruce, can I ask you this, because I'm looking at the ordinance before we deal with the ordinance. What is the increase on our wastewater-only people? What percentage?
This is only a wastewater ordinance, it is 6%.
Out across, okay.
Yeah.
So it's
it's
non-meters?
6%.
Okay.
Yeah, just for
Very good.
wastewater, not for water, just
Very
for
good.
wastewater.
Okay. We have an ordinance tonight. It's ordinance 2381. Counselor?
Thank you. An ordinance establishing a rates for wastewater services provided by the city of Waynesville, fixing an effective date. An ordinance establishing rates for wastewater services provided by the city of Waynesville, fixing an effective date.
I'd entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Mike, second by Dr. Brown, and then comments or questions? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Councilman France?
Yes.
Councilman Conley?
Yes.
Councilman Liberty?
Yes.
Councilman Brown?
Yes.
Councilman Curtis?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Farnum?
No.
Thank you.
Okay, and that ordinance passes. And we have Finance and Human Resources. This is Councilman Liberty.
Meeting was called to order at 5 p.m. Mr. Harrell stated there was need for closed session for legal, personnel, and real estate in accordance with RSMO 610.021, 1, 2, and 3. Councilman Curtis moved to go into closed session. The vote was unanimous, 5:01, we went into closed session. 5:41, we came back out of closed session. Committee reviewed the bills. All council members voted to approve the payment of the bill. Monthly budget review account status, Mr. Harrell reported committee. At this date, we had over 3.8 million in city bank accounts with 2.9 in restricted accounts and 898,211 in usable money. Mr. Harrell reported as of the end of August, we should be at 67% of our budget projections, and at the end, actual revenue is at 61%, and our expenses are at 64%. Mr. Harrell reported due to the large airport grants, it's a challenge for the cash flow with receipts and expenses, money in, money out. We currently waiting on $625,000 reimbursement for the parallel taxiway. Essential Air Service Grant Program, also monthly expenses of $260,000, which the city pays and then they wait for reimbursement. There's a proposed ordinance updating the 2020 personnel manning chart. Mr. Harrell went over the chart with the committee members and unanimous vote for that to be sent to the council for approval. Mr. Harrell stated this year Social Security Office is given a cost of living allowance of 1.6%. He recommends the city figure 2020 wage grades based on the COLA. Committee members gave approval to move forward with this recommendation. Grant updates, Mr. Harrell stated, we have the notice to proceed on the recreational trail grant. However, the city is currently waiting on FEMA to approve the location and new restroom due to the proposed location being inside the floodway. No new information was available. Mr. Harrell updated committee on airport taxiway and terminal grant. Mr. Harrell stated engineer assistance grant for wastewater was completed last month, has moved forward and we received the first phase approval letter. The city will now have an additional 90 days to select an engineer to proceed on in the next step in this award. Total being requested $62,500. Mr. Harrell stated that Marion Jones completed the Volkswagen grant application and it was submitted to DNR. Mr. Harrell updated the committee on recent personnel changes. Finance Officer Stephanie Luthen is retired from the city of Waynesville. Water Department has 2 new hires and City Hall has a new receptionist. Mr. Harrell stated Amber Box will serve as interim finance officer at this time. With no further business coming before the committee adjourned at 5:50. Next meeting will be October 10th, 2019.
Very good. I'd like to remind everybody that the city is working on our budget, and because I've been traveling, I haven't been able to attend the budget meetings like I like to. But I believe we're about through with them, aren't we, Bruce?
I think
The
we've had
initial-
most of our meetings. I think we'll have to do a lot of follow-up and balancing will be the next step.
That's what I was going to say to the public. I said I wanted to remind the public that local government has to have a balanced budget. What a unique idea. That was sarcasm. So we have to work hard on that to make sure that our our budget is balanced. And so we'll be putting all that together. I guess they put it in a little pot, right, Amber and Tracy and all you guys? You put it in a little pot and kind of divvy it out and figure out where everything goes. And it's quite an interesting system. We have a ordinance tonight, and if you would, Bruce, kind of just give a sentence to explain this. I believe this is just a new manning chart.
We have a new manning chart, a new, basically the step and grade chart, which is increased by the COLA, which 1.6, what the recommendation of the Finance Committee. And we did change some job titles. One of the biggest things, and of course we talked in Mr. Francis' committee about the lineman pay. We basically stepped up the lineman pay to be more competitive with surrounding communities and co-ops, and and investor-owned utility, so we needed work there. And we added solid waste and recycling supervisor, we added a few, just changed a few titles, but the main impact was on our apprentice linemen and our journeyman linemen. We increased basically their grade.
Trying to attract those people and keep
Yes, and
them.
be more competitive and keep the, we got a good crew, we want to keep the ones that we have. And so do you have any questions?
For you kids watching, that is a very competitive thing to get into, and you can make a good living being an electric lineman because they're needed everywhere. And so we're trying our best to keep ours. So okay, let's go ahead and do this. We have an ordinance tonight, Counselor. It is ordinance 2382.
Thank you. An ordinance amending the 2019 city personnel manual chart, fixing an effective date. And ordinance amending the 2019 city personnel manual chart, fixing an effective date.
Very good. I entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Mike, second by Clarence, I believe it was. And are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Councilman Farnum?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilman Curtis?
Yes.
Councilman Brown?
Yes.
Councilman Liberty?
Yes.
Councilman Conley?
Yes.
Councilman Franks?
Yes.
Thank you.
Very good, that ordinance passes. I was just sitting here thinking, Bruce, since I've been mayor, I think there was only 1 year that we weren't able to give at least a little COLA.
Yes, I believe that's right, Mayor.
Thinking back.
Yes.
So it's not as much as we'd like to give our employees because they're so valuable, but we did what we could. So, Police Committee, Councilman Liberty.
Meeting was called to order at 3:31 p.m. There was no citizens for comments. Animal shelter update. Sue Rather gave an update on the animal shelter. She stated that there was a recent donation of dog and cat food from Royal Canin. She also stated that the animal shelter has a surveillance system installed that was paid for by a grant. She explained a new way to donate to an animal shelter by going to the Facebook page and clicking on the donate button. Discussion regarding animal control and beekeeping ordinance. A was limiting number of animals per household and dangerous animals. We discussed changes. Councilman Brown agrees with the changes. He asked that it be brought back to the next committee meeting with the updates included. Proposed ordinance to keep bees in residential area. Mr. Harrell went over the letter from citizen Cheryl Hinchman that suggested changes for certain parts of the ordinance. The committee agreed on some of the changes to be made. And Councilman Brown would like to have an updated copy with items agreed upon the next meeting, then take it to the council. Enhanced security at City Hall, you've already heard on that. The committee concurred with this project. Police Department updates. Chief Cordova stated Highway Safety and Traffic Division has completed its review of grant applications for year of 10/1/2019 through 9/30 of 2020. And the following projects have been approved: DWI saturation enforcement and hazardous moving violation enforcement. Other business, Mr. Harold discussed FEMA meeting that he and Miriam Jones attended. At this time, Pulaski County is not on the declared list, but an application was submitted in hopes that it'll be approved for the windstorm disaster and flooding that occurred May 2019. There was a need for closed session. Councilman Conley made a motion to enter closed session. It was unanimous. We went into closed session at 4:11. And we returned to open session at 4:16. Having no further business, meeting was adjourned at 4:16. Next scheduled meeting, October 3rd, 2019 at 3:30 p.m. And we would love to have citizens come to our committee meeting.
Very good. Questions for Clarence? Anybody? All right, Airport Committee, and I believe Councilman Wilson was unavailable. Bruce, do you want to do that, or? All right, Sean, are you ready?
I can do it.
Good, go ahead.
Okay, I wasn't there. Okay, but on the August 27th, excuse my voice, August 27th at 3 p.m. the meeting was convened for the airport board by Mayor Lawrenson. Actually at 3:04 we had guests, but there were no guest comments at that time. The reports by the staff, Mr. Harrell went over the budget and he expressed the increase of the budget costs due to the mass amount of work that is being done on the airport, and that had great impact. Year to date, the balance income is a little over 3.1 million, with the 4.1 million expense, which makes up the budget difference of 1 million, mainly because everything has to be paid. We pay first, and then we get the grant money paid back. Due to the partial taxiway project, since we have to pay the expenses up front, and we have to wait on the reimbursement from MoDOT. Also down as far as the airport operations management, Mike Guy stated that the fuel sales have been consistent around $20,000. The employment contract will be effective October 1st of 2020. The new fuel truck will now be here in late October of this year. Dave Robinson updated the board on the runway and the taxiway. He stated that due to the rain, it had slowed down the progress, and it was supposed to start back once the weather permitted. Around September 9th was supposed to be a start of the groundbreaking of September 9th for the terminal improvements. As far as new business appointed, there was appointment of the officers for the board. I will just explain that, or share that Mayor Lawson was valid or voted back in as the chairman. We have Bruce Harrell, who was the vice chairman, and then also Randy Beck was voted in as the secretary and treasurer. And all of those passed, motions was made, and they are our new representatives in those offices. Review of the bylaws, Mr. Harrell could probably expound a little bit about the detail of the reviews, but they were received by the board and they were approved. I don't know if you want to.
We just made basically some minor housekeeping changes. We did add, we did vote to increase the board because we'd had some interest in pilots and serving in the board. So we do have the option of adding more people to the board if they're interested. And basically renamed it as an advisory board, which is basically what it is. And made a few other changes. I think the meeting date and time had changed. So we just made a few housekeeping changes to the bylaws.
Okay. And proposed agreement for the Army Corps of Engineers, the parallel taxiway. Mr. Harrell went over the proposed agreement, and this was the agreement or the request by the Army Corps of Engineers, to request the increase of the rent of the area that is being used by the parallel taxiway. Mr. Harrell had suggested that to let the city attorneys look at it and bring it before the city councils, and everyone agreed on that, and that's where we stand at this point. As far as old business, the parallel taxiway project, Mr. Harrell stated that due to the rain, as I previously described or communicated, hasn't been paid yet, and they're supposed to begin at the beginning of September, which we know it has been a little bit dry, so they should be working on that parallel taxiway. The terminal area master plan, Mr. Harrell went over the meeting that was held by Burns and McDowell and discussed the timeline, which will include the study of the area, to include the size and designs. There will be a series of 5 meetings and a public forum at one of these meetings to get more input on the design of the new terminal. Marketing updates, SOP marketing plan. Aaron Kimberly called in to the meeting and she discussed the report that was provided to all of the members that were there. She stated that the Google ads, they have dropped the per click rate by 10 cents to 77 cents, which is a benefit for the cost. It's always good to save money. And then also she stated that Facebook analytics, they reach it was lower this month, which was already planned. The previous month was high due to the giveaway of the free tickets. 2019 Air Service Promotion Grant. Mr. Harrell discussed the new promotion grant that started August 1st. He stated that it needed to do another agreement with SOP, which Dorsey Newcomb had provided that at the meeting. Mr. Harrell talked about the routine study, which he included in this grant, and the options of who to contact to accomplish this task. Other business, Chairman, Mayor Lawrenson opened the floor to comments. Attendees, Dave Robinson discussed a few different events being held at Fort Leonard Wood, where there will be giveaways for Contour Airline. I guess more information will be to follow on that. Randy Beck made a motion to adjourn the meeting. Bruce Harrell seconded the motion. The motion was passed. The meeting was adjourned at 3:47 p.m. The next meeting is scheduled at September 24th at 3 p.m. here in Waynesville.
And I just had one comment, Bruce, where it says interplane contract. Is that with the military or is that with our luggage?
That is with the, that is the fueling contract.
Okay.
We're also working on a luggage contract.
Right. Isn't it called interplane too, or is it not? In flight?
Interline.
Interline.
Interline,
Okay.
it's very similar. But
Thank you.
hopefully we'll have news on that in the near future.
Okay, very good. Any other questions for Sean or Bruce?
Yes, I got one. How long are we waiting on reimbursements? If we're putting out this money from the city, how long are we having to wait typically to get our reimbursement back into us?
Well, it depends on the grant. If it's the 2 million that was like the appropriated funds from the state's budget, we get it back in the 2.5 days or so. But if it's the 3.7 million that we got, that's federal money, that takes anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay, anything from 10 days to 3 to 4 weeks.
Is that delaying us in paying these folks?
Sometimes it does. I will tell you that we wrote our first $1 million check that I can recall earlier this week for the parallel taxiway. So now I think we're waiting reimbursement for about 1.6 million from MoDOT Aviation. So that is, it has been quite a challenge. And I informed them that we would have to, I informed Boomsdale that we would have to, and the engineers, that we need to get some money reimbursed to us before we can,
Pay anymore?
send out these checks. So I think they realize that it is sometimes a challenge working these grant agreements. I think they recently did the paving, so that's why we had over $1 million request.
Wow.
For airport. So it's been basically a big challenge on our cash flow, to upfront, to write these checks, waiting
I
reimbursement.
wish I'd had the opportunity to sign that check, Mr. Harrell.
I wanted to sign that one, Luge, but
You did. Who else?
I don't think you were available at
Who
the
else
time.
did? Because you have to have two.
Yeah, I think Amber did.
She's smiling.
I don't know if you're available, Mayor, but
Okay,
I
my
got another
goodness.
one. How are we doing on essential air service? Since it's now being, we pay, they pay us.
we pay about 200, I think we normally get those reimbursements quicker.
Yes,
We pay about 260,000, I think you handle that. We normally get it in 2 or 3 days, right?
Yeah.
Within a week, okay. So
This
that,
month we got it the day after she.
okay, so there, we got it within a day or two, up to a week, so that's working better.
Is that federal?
Yes.
All these comments here tonight for the public are just examples of the work that we've been doing on the airport for really the last 10 years. And we have gotten to the point where it's millions of dollars. And of course, most all of that is grant money. It's grant money from the federal government, from MoDOT, from different grants. And, but as you can tell from our agenda, we have 2 more paperwork items to take care of. It seems like every month we have 2 or 3. And Counselor, we have another proposed ordinance. It's 2384.
Okay, an ordinance authorizing the mayor and the city administrator
Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
I have 2383.
Yes, that's the first one.
Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to execute an amendment to a lease agreement between the city of Waynesville, city of St. Robert, and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to expand the Waynesville-St. Robert Regional Airport for the construction of parallel taxiway, fixing an effective date. An ordinance authorizing the mayor and/or city administrator to execute an amendment to a lease agreement between the city of Waynesville, city of St. Robert, and U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to expand the Waynesville-St. Robert Regional Airport for the construction of parallel taxiway, fixing an effective date.
Very good. I'd entertain a motion.
Motion.
Motion by Ed,
Second.
second over here by Sean. And are there any comments or questions?
What's this costing?
This
This
is
is-
the additional lease area
Right.
for the parallel taxiway. It's costing us $1,800 a year.
From the military.
Is that, excuse me, is that part of the supplemental agreement number one?
No.
That's the next one.
Oh, you mean the next one? Oh, yes, it is. Yes, that's correct. I didn't understand the question. Sorry about
The
that.
reason
Yes.
I asked the copy that I have here, the supplemental agreement number one, it still gives a 201 North Street address.
Okay.
And then on the back side, they're under consideration.
Okay.
It says $4,550, but they have printed out 445.
Yes.
0.0.
Let's say 4,550.
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Under A.
Okay, well, good catches. We'll, subject to those changes, allow us to negotiate those changes.
Should it be just B? The 1800?
No, I think they included, that's our original lease agreement amount.
Okay.
Now, we did put a section, because this has gone through, going through the attorney's review, we did put a section 4 to this ordinance that allowed us to make some changes to negotiate these amendments on an as-needed basis, basically on the findings, as you just mentioned, and if the attorneys, find out some additional information. So I'd say approve it subject to us negotiating those terms and clarifying those issues out.
Okay.
That-
So
that'd be my
our
suggestion.
rent bill every year is $44.50, right? And so this will increase it because of the parallel taxway, it'll increase it $1,800.
Right.
But you're
Yes.
going to do some negotiation.
Yes, we'll talk to them about, as he mentioned, good catch, I mean, that what they wrote and what they typed in are a little bit different, and we'll correct the address. We'll correct the address as well. I think they're going off the address when we originally did this agreement.
Was this a Kansas City lawyer for the court?
This is a Kansas City Corps of Engineers, and at times they are challenging to work with.
Bill, this address, this probably came out when you and I were on city council years ago too. Yeah. For real? All right, anything else? So I believe we had a motion and a second. Any other questions? Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Councilman France?
Yes.
Councilman Conley?
Yes.
Councilman Liberty?
Yes.
Councilman Brown?
Yes.
Councilman Curtis?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Farnum?
Yes.
Thank you.
And that ordinance passes, and really, I guess related to it is ordinance 2384.
Right.
Counselor.
An ordinance amending ordinance number 2330, authorizing the mayor of the city of Waynesville to execute a supplemental agreement for air service promotion between the city of Waynesville, city of St. Robert, and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission, fixing an effective date. An ordinance amending ordinance number 2330, authorizing the mayor of the city of Waynesville to execute a supplemental agreement for air service promotion between the city of Waynesville, city of St. Robert, and the Missouri Highways and Transportation Commission, fixing an effective date.
Mayor, I'll explain this one. This basically gives us another month on our last marketing grant. We had, the bill came in, and MoDOT said, well, that bill came in July, and he said, well, we expired it in June, so we had to extend our grant another month. And you have to do this procedure basically for any minor changes to your grant agreements.
Right, and I'd entertain a motion. Motion by Cecil,
Second.
second by Mike. Any other questions This is something, again, that we've already
Yeah,
passed.
I do, Mayor.
Go for it, Bill.
I know the dates are June 30, 2019, July 31st, 2019. But if we approve this, it's going to be signed with today's date. Is that going to be legal on a contract?
Yes, I believe that this is what MoDOT sent us to, and they understand that we're going to execute it afterwards.
So that we could cover that bill.
Yes.
It's like a ratification, basically. It's okay.
Okay. Anything else? Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Councilman Farnum?
Yes.
Councilman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Wilson?
Yes.
Councilman Curtis?
Yes.
Councilman Brown?
Yes.
Councilman Liberty?
Yes.
Councilman Conley?
Yes.
Councilman France?
Yes.
Thank you.
And that ordinance passes. Our last committee meeting is Economic Development, and Bill, that's you.
Mayor, we met, excuse me, here, on September 3rd, 2019. Called the meeting to order. We had no citizens' comments whatsoever. Our first topic was touching on the bed and breakfast, the Airbnb again. Then we jumped to research regarding adopting new building codes. Mr. Harrell discussed memos that he received from Mitch Hall and Nathan Carmine with suggestions for updating the building codes. We had some discussion on that. Then we moved on to business license requirements for contractors and subcontractors. We had a discussion about that. There's going to be some more investigation. We brought back to the meeting next month. The economic development issue, well, we found out from our meeting that Route 66 Community Art Gallery was going to be our monthly sponsor, so we've already had Jacks and all that here. Our special events that's upcoming will be Frog Fest, October 5th. The Columbia College 5K Run Trick or Treat, October 19th. The MRPC Annual Banquet that you talked about earlier, Mayor, will be October 24th. The Pumpkin Fest, October 31st. And of course, 2019 Veterans Day Ceremony and Parade, November 11th, 2019.
And it will be in St. Robert this year.
Other business, had a grant review wastewater financial workshop. Miriam Jones discussed some different things that she learned at the meeting. We had a need for a closed session. We went into closed session at 5:30. We came back out at 5:35, and we adjourned at 5:35.
Very good. And just real quick before we leave this, I want you to add Oktoberfest on the square. It's October 12th. And so we have a busy fall, as usual. And a lot of things in Waynesville for the kids. And Sean, I want to compliment you and your leadership in the Pumpkin Fest. And I know that has turned into quite an event for our community. And I appreciate the work that you do on that. Any questions for Bill? All right, moving on. Other business, is there anything else we need to bring up?
No, Mayor.
All right, and Mr. Harrell, City Administrator's report.
Yes, Mayor, I've provided a written report, but I think the council's hit most of the highlights, but I'm very proud of the work the city workers continue to do. And the rebuild of Well House 2, which we did in-house, saved us a lot of money. And the pad site, building the pad site at Northern Lights, is another project we did in-house that saved us a lot of money. The street department's been really busy with all the downed tree limbs, and they've also repaired storm damage on Mitchell Creek and taken a lot of gravel out of Mitchell Creek too. So they've done a lot. We also sent a street sweeper on mutual aid to the city of Richland to help them out. I think they're preparing for one of their anniversaries of the city. Electric department's still been busy changing out poles and reconducting line. On the personnel side, of course, we mentioned that Stephanie is retiring from the city, and I appreciate her many years of service to the city. Doing a transition, Sandy Willis has come back to work from part-time for a while we're getting through a transition period, and we hired Nathaniel Acosta and Dylan Powell for the Water Wastewater Department, and George Sharpenstein was recognized for over 10 years of service to the city. We also have a fundraiser on Saturday, September 21st, for one of our linemen, Cody Bond, who was injured in a boating accident. And I think the city employees have donated several hundred hours of leave time to him as he recovers from a very serious accident. So that'll be on a park on Saturday. So subject to your questions, that's my report.
I'll tell everybody that there sure is some good stuff here for raffles and auction items, and I know it's supposed to rain, but don't let it scare you away. Bring an umbrella, and because I'm pretty sure they're going to go ahead with this event. even if it's raining.
It looked like it didn't going to hit us till late tomorrow evening supposedly, if it hits us at all.
Okay, but that's Friday, so Saturday, I'm a little worried about Saturday.
Yeah, I ain't worried about that.
Okay, anything else for Mr. Harold? All right, let's do council comments, and then the mayor gets to talk again. People in the audience. Mike?
I just want to thank our city employees, especially all the utility guys and our building department, and Mitch and Bruce for how much they have accomplished over this summer. And we're still progressing. And how much money with them doing all this work has really saved our residents. We would not be able to do a lot of the things that we do in this city for our citizens without them doing it. I mean, this is a big example. About $380,000 in this building when the engineers said 4.1 million. I mean, we do that. They do that kind of stuff every day to save our residents money. So thank them very, very much.
Very good. Ed?
I'll pass.
Well, I'll just say that it's nice to see Ed without his big thing on his foot.
Scooter.
And a scooter. Last month he had a scooter and he was pushing himself along. So I believe tonight he's actually just got a cane. So we're glad to see that, Ed.
I still got a cast on my foot.
It's hidden well.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's
Clarence?
there.
Clarence?
For one, I would like to thank Mr. Harold, his staff, and all the city employees and volunteers. You make us look good each and every month.
That's the truth.
I would also like to add on the Good Citizen Award, Laura Huffman. I was fortunate enough to go to the celebration on Casimir Pulaski.
Yeah.
Yes, in March.
And she's got a whole lot of information in that mind of hers. I learned a whole lot. It's very nice up there. I suggest everybody drop by. You'd be surprised what you're going to learn. And also the Business Spotlight. I've gone to Jack's business several times, and each time I enjoy it.
But I hope you bought something.
Each time.
Each time. You need to buy something when you go in.
Are you going to dime me out?
Well, I'm telling you, I go in there and buy Christmas presents. Y'all need to think about that. Christmas presents
All right.
from Jack's Gallery. Okay?
We had great conversation.
But that was a nice compliment.
And one other thing is Ty's Blue Star family, the celebration there was excellent. It was very well organized. The children there were having a great time. And she included the mayor and I handing the beads to the kids there, and the kids just loved it.
Very good. Jerry?
Don't forget Southern Gospel Sing, Friday and Saturday
Was on my
night,
list.
West
Very
Side
good.
Baptist Church.
Very good.
A special thanks to our water department. There was an 8-inch main break a week ago Monday, and they got it done a lot sooner than they had expected. They were looking at 12 or 1 o'clock at night, and it was done about 9:15, and that was a 8-inch main that was broke.
Very good. Mike?
All our citizens need to slow down. I'm not talking about in your cars. I'm talking about slow down next month and take a look at our city
nice.
with the beautiful fall weather we're hopefully going to have. As a photographer, it's one of my favorite times of year to go out and take pictures. Slow down and appreciate the beautiful city we live in.
Nice. Sean?
Just saying thank you to everybody that helped with the cleanup in the community, the volunteers that helped out with that little windstorm. Is greatly appreciated.
Cecil?
I would like to thank the electric department, because when those winds came, August 25th, 26th, I drove past some of them, and they were, when it says fixing in high winds, they were fixing some electricity in high winds.
Wow.
I've jumped out of some helicopters in high winds, but I didn't have no voltage to deal with. They were doing a job out there.
Very good. Bill?
I have nothing tonight.
Very good. Well, and just a couple of things. I wanted to say thank you to the city workers for, I had a lot of compliments from our citizens about the cleanup and the fact that the city went around and helped clean up. On my list, Jerry, was the gospel singing, which is Friday and Saturday night, and they have moved that to the Westside Baptist Church. And we as a city support that because it brings hundreds of people into our community. It is great entertainment. If you like gospel music, come on down. I believe my guest tomorrow night is General Martin. She loves gospel music, and she's going with me, and we're going to go listen to some singing. And then I wanted to mention, sadly, for the 8th year, I have lost the Lebanon bet with the mayor. The Tigers did not come through for me. I have to take the mayor of Lebanon to lunch. And so I will let y'all know how that goes. It's usually a lot of fun. He's my friend. But I was really rooting for the Tigers up there, my video kids. I was really rooting for them. And then while I was gone and went out to St. Louis, I'm going to give y'all the short version, I promise. I attended the Missouri Municipal League conference in St. Louis. And I always make kind of a list of the different workshops and things that I go to. And I've got a whole bunch here, but I'll just give you the quick version. The first thing was we heard from a man who talked a little bit about checkup. Everybody needs a checkup from the neck up. Preacher, that's a good one. Okay? Everybody needs to check their attitude. And he said these 3 things. Complain less, compliment more. Complainers are drainers.
Amen.
Don't choose to be reactive, be proactive. Number 2, don't take everything so seriously. And I'm just as guilty as anybody. You will never say at the end of life, I wish I hadn't laughed so much. Everybody needs to lighten up.
Amen.
And number 3, life needs more rah-rah. And of course what he meant was life needs more inspiration. We need to be inspiring to people and to connect with people. Put our dadgum phones down and start talking to each other. And then I went to a workshop on bringing different types of people into your work pool, and that really had some good ideas in it. I shared some of those with Bruce. Went to one on community conservation. The conservation department was there, and they talked about all the issues we have in Waynesville. Our deer population, nuisance weeds. You know, I actually raised my hand and I said, I just have one word, kudzu. Kudzu. A lot of good information there, and of course they talked to Lawrence about tree cities, and I would hope maybe that the park board could get that on their agenda once a year. All they need to do is have that on their agenda once a year and maybe make an Arbor Day proclamation, and that would make us more active as a tree city. We are a tree city. We just have not been active in it. And I think it would behoove us to do that, Lawrence. And it's really, again, doesn't take much work. But it gives you available grants. It helps you inventory the trees in your city. It helps you replace your trees, all kinds of good things. I also went to the one on the municipal courts, and I need to get with Lisa and talk about that. I see the chief in the back. I would tell you that there seems to be, Counselor, a little mini war against municipal courts.
I think that's right.
Is that a good description?
I think it is.
I think I may have heard it from other mayors too. They're wanting to take municipal courts and put them in the circuit courts. And so I went to that, and they talked also about the new filing system that they're having to do. And of course what those things do is they put all the burden on the local governments. We have to turn around and buy all that software and train all those people. And there's no money for that, and so you have to come up with that money. And then you would be very proud of me. I went to the use tax workshop, and let me just say, we were kind of stars. Yeah. There were several cities around me that sat around me who had also passed their use tax. But what was really interesting about it is that it was a lawyer doing the talking, and he explained why we're in the situation that we're in Missouri. Missouri is just one of a few states who does not belong to something called the SSUTA, Streamlined Sales and Use Tax Agreement. Missouri does not belong to that. And because we don't belong to it, we have to go to every little municipal, county entity and have the collection of those taxes approved. Those taxes are not new, they just haven't been collected. And then an interesting story that I thought I would share with you guys is the Wayfair decision. Does that ring a bell, Counselor?
I've heard of it.
The Wayfair decision was in 2017, and what that did was it overturned the definition of a retail business. It took out the phrase physical presence, so that now you don't have to have a, quote, physical presence, right? And that's really what allowed use taxes to be collected. Amazon always collected them, but they never divided it up. And so South Dakota, of all places, sued them, and because they didn't want to fight lawsuits with 50 states, they agreed to do what they're doing now, and that is, of course, is collecting. And then the last meeting we had at the conference was our morning conference was the director of the medical marijuana program in Missouri. His name is Lyndall Fraker. He is a state representative, an older one, from Marshfield. And from everything that I heard from the people around me, he is very well respected. And people are really expecting him to do a good job at this. I, of course, sat there listening to all of it and taking it all in. I'll just mention a couple of things. Most of you, we've shared some of this information with you. But we are the 33rd state to legalize medical marijuana. 11 states have approved recreational. We expect the applications to be turned in on October 3rd. That's the last day. And by December 31st, they will announce the licenses. Here's an interesting tidbit. Missouri is the only state of the 33 states that did this constitutionally. All the other states did it by state statute, which means that they can go in and change every little thing every week. With us, it's constitutional, therefore you have to have an amendment, and it's a big process to get changes. And so I think, from everything I heard at that meeting, is that Missouri did it right. You know, that we established it right. Talked a little bit about the taxes, and all of you are aware that there is a special veterans fund that will be 4%. And then, of course, on local sales tax, we will simply get what our tax is, okay? Just a very, very interesting conference. I enjoyed it. Again, it was my last one, and I was chairman of the policy committee. That was a good experience for me. I had to get up and talk to all those people, and so it was kind of a fun thing. And I enjoyed the trip, and I say to the people of Waynesville, thank you for letting me go. Obviously, you pay my bill, and so I appreciate that. So is there anything else for the good of the community? Then I adjourn this meeting.
That was the short